In episode 9, we looked at operational control for water. We translated plans, objectives, compliance obligations, risks and opportunities into operating criteria, control points, triggers, roles and evidence. Now we move to the next practical question. Can people actually perform those controls correctly? So this is where competence and awareness become very practical. This episode is not about generic environmental posters, no. It's not about abstract slogans, no. It's about what each person must know, understand, be able to do, and recognize in order for the EMS to work in daily operations. Episode 9 defined the standard work. So, for example, BlueRiver may require approved cleaning in place recipes, wastewater alarm limits, chemical storage inspections, contractor work permits, drain protection, leak detection, escalation rules, and evidence records. But a control only works if people can perform it. So if operators do not understand the cleaning in place recipe, the control fails. If utility staff do not know how to react to a wastewater alarm, the control fails. If warehouse staff do not recognize poor chemical containment, the control fails. If supervisors allow contractor work near drains without protection, well, the control fails. So, episode 10 takes the roles at the point of work and asks, what competence and awareness do those roles require? Now, it is useful to distinguish competence from awareness. Competence is about ability. Can the person do the task correctly? Awareness is about understanding. Does the person understand why the task matters and what may happen if it is not done properly? So, for example, an operator may be competent to follow an approved cleaning in place recipe. But the operator should also be aware that excessive rinsing increases water use, chemical use, energy use, and wastewater load. Or, for example, a site supervisor may be competent to apply a contractor work permit, but the supervisor should also be aware that if a contractor works near a stormwater drain without protection, a small spill can become a pollution incident. So both are needed. Competence makes the action possible. Awareness gives the action meaning. Now, a common mistake is to confuse training with competence. Training is an input, okay? Competence is the result. So training is a tool. BlueRiver should not stop at the question, did people attend training? That is useful, okay, but not enough. A better question is, can people perform the task correctly? And an even stronger question is, can they perform it correctly under real working conditions? So, for example, can an operator respond correctly when a cleaning in place cycle is repeated? Can utility staff react before wastewater reaches a permit limit? Can a supervisor stop contractor work when drain protection is missing? Can maintenance recognize that a small leak is part of a larger water performance problem? That is competence, okay? And competence is not the same for everyone. So BlueRiver should not give the same generic environmental training to every person and assume the job is done. Different roles need different competence. An operator needs to run the process correctly. Maintenance needs to detect and repair conditions that affect water use or pollution risk. Utility staff need to monitor wastewater and react to alarms. Warehouse workers need to inspect chemical storage. Site supervisors need to control contractor work. Procurement needs to include environmental requirements in contracts and supplier selection. The environmental manager needs to analyze trends and compliance evidence. Operations management needs to make decisions when performance is not where it should be. And the EMS works when competence is defined role by role. So, a practical competence system should not begin with a training catalog, okay? It should begin with the work. So, BlueRiver should ask, what tasks affect water performance? What can go wrong? Who performs or controls those tasks? What must they know? What must they be able to do? How will we know they can do it? This keeps competence connected to operational control. So, for example, if cleaning in place is a significant water-related activity, the competence question is not who needs environmental awareness training. The question is who must be able to run, check, record, and escalate cleaning in place deviations correctly. Now, before we say that an operator needs training, we should understand how we arrived at that conclusion. The starting point is not the training course. The starting point is the operational control. So in this case, BlueRiver has defined an operational control for cleaning in place, an approved recipe and rinse limits. Now we ask, what critical tasks must the operator perform for that control to work? So the operator must select the correct recipe, run the cycle within the defined parameters, check the rinse, record the cycle, recognize exceptions and escalate deviations. And then we ask, what can go wrong? So the wrong recipe may be selected, rinsing times may take longer than expected, a cycle may be repeated without being recorded, an exception may not be escalated, the operator may treat abnormal water use as, well, normal. Only now do we define the competence need. Okay, let's go back. So, the control, the tasks, the failure modes, and now comes the competence. So, the operator must be able to use the control system, follow the recipe parameters, recognize deviations, record them correctly, and escalate when required. And then we define awareness. The operator should understand why this matters. So excessive rinsing increases water use, chemical use, energy use, and wastewater load. It may also affect compliance risk, cost, and cleaning effectiveness. Finally, we ask how competence will be verified. Not only by attendance at training, but by observation, practical demonstration, review of cleaning in place records, and scenario questions. For example, what do you do if the cleaning in place cycle is repeated twice in one shift? Or, when should you call the supervisor? This is the logic we want people to learn. Do not begin with a generic training plan. Begin with work. Identify what must be controlled, understand what can go wrong, and then define the competence and awareness needed at the point of work. Let's start with the operator. Okay, so if BlueRiver wants to reduce cleaning in place losses, the operator role is critical. So the operator must follow the approved recipe, check rinse time, record the cycle, recognize repeated or extended cycles, and escalate exceptions. And so the competence needed is very concrete. The operator must understand the recipe parameters, must know how to use the control system, must know how to record deviations, must know when to call the supervisor. You see, this is not theoretical environmental competence. It's the ability to perform the water-related control correctly. Okay? Now, I will not repeat this for all the roles here, but okay, this one is for maintenance, so maintenance competence. This one is for utility staff, okay, essential for wastewater control. This one for warehouse, okay, warehouse staff. So chemical storage is another practical example. So if a spill can reach drains, soil, groundwater, or surface water, then warehouse competence matters. So warehouse staff should know how chemicals must be stored. They should check labels, containment, container condition, and spill kit availability. They should recognize poor storage conditions. They should understand that an open container or a small leak is not just a housekeeping issue. It may be an environmental risk. And they should also know what immediate action is expected when a leak is found. So this is where awareness and competence meet, okay? Oh, another one is site supervisor competence, okay, regarding contracted control. This one, let's see this one, this is the last one, okay, about the procurement competence, okay. So procurement is sometimes forgotten in competence planning. But procurement can influence external providers. So if BlueRiver uses contractors, cleaning providers, transport washing services, waste operators, sludge carriers, or packaging suppliers, purchasing decisions can affect environmental performance. So procurement competence may include the ability to include environmental requirements in contracts, request supplier information, select approved providers, define required evidence, support supplier evaluation, and recognize when environmental inputs are needed. Okay? This connects directly with life cycle thinking and control or influence. BlueRiver may not control everything externally, but it should know where procurement can influence the outcome. Awareness is not a poster on the wall. Awareness means people understand the environmental relevance of their work. So they should understand the significant water-related aspects connected to their role. They should understand how their work contributes to the EMS. And they should understand what can happen if controls are not followed. So for example, excessive rinsing increases water use and wastewater load. An unprotected drain creates a pollution risk. A missed wastewater alarm may lead to a permit breach. Poor chemical storage may lead to a spill. Weak contractor control may lead to contaminated runoff. So awareness helps people recognize why the control matters. Competence can be built in many ways. So classroom training may help, but it's not the only method. Okay, so for BlueRiver, practical instruction may be more useful. So supervised work may be needed before a person performs a task alone. Mentoring may help new employees. Toolbox talks may help before contractor work or high-risk activities. Simulations and drills may help people respond to spills, alarms, or abnormal situations. Visual work instructions may help people remember key steps at the point of work. Lessons from incidents can be used to update training. And when the process changes, competence may need to be refreshed. The method should fit the task and the risk. So, how to build competence? Now, how to verify competence? So, BlueRiver also needs to verify competence. Attendance records alone do not prove competence. Useful verification methods include observation at the point of work, practical demonstration, supervisor sign-off, review of records, scenario questions, drill performance, trend data, repeat deviation analysis, and audits of actual practice. So, for example, if operators continue to repeat cleaning in place cycles without recording exceptions, competence may not be effective. If contractors frequently start work without drain protection, the supervisor or contractor induction process may not be effective. If wastewater alarms are not escalated, utilities competence needs review. So, competence should be confirmed by evidence of performance, not only by attendance. And competence and awareness are not one-time activities. They need to be reviewed when conditions change. So a new product may require different cleaning, a new equipment may require new operating knowledge, a new chemical may change storage and wastewater risks, a new contractor may need induction, a new wastewater limit may require new alarm levels, a drought restriction may require new water priority rules. An incident, a near miss, or repeated deviation may show that people did not understand the control or were unable to perform it. So, a role change or a new employee also creates a competence question. So, BlueRiver should ask, has the work changed in a way that changes what people need to know or be able to do? Now, this is the working tool for this episode, a competence and awareness matrix. The matrix starts with a role, then identifies the critical task, then it defines the competence needed, then it defines the awareness needed, then it explains how competence will be verified, and then it identifies the evidence, and finally it defines review triggers. Okay? So this last column is important because competence and awareness are not fixed forever. They may need to be reviewed when there is a change in equipment, process, chemical, contractor, legal requirement, operating criterion, incident, near miss, or repeated deviation. This tool helps BlueRiver avoid generic training plans. It connects competence directly with operational control and keeps it updated when reality changes. Now, let's see. Let's see the example for BlueRiver. So for operators, so the critical task may be running the cleaning in place cycle. They need to follow the recipe and record exceptions. They need to understand, so to be aware of the impact on water use and wastewater load. Competence can be verified through observation, and evidence may include training and validation records. And competence should be reviewed when there is a new recipe or repeated cleaning in place deviations. Now, maintenance. For maintenance, the critical task may be repairing leaks. Okay? So maintenance technicians need to diagnose and repair water loss points. They should understand that leaks affect objectives, cost, and water performance. Review may be triggered by repeated leaks or new equipment. For utilities, the task may be monitoring wastewater. They need to interpret pH, COD, and alarm levels. They need to understand permit and pollution risks. Competence should be reviewed when there are new limits, alarm failures, or near limit results. And okay, we have here for the warehouse, for the site supervisor, and for procurement. Let's see procurement. Competence may include translating environmental requirements into contracts and supplier criteria. Review may be triggered by a new supplier, a new requirement, or a supplier-related issue. So this makes the matrix more dynamic. It's not only a record of who was trained. No, it's a tool for deciding when competence and awareness need to be refreshed. Okay? So, the output of this episode is a competence and awareness matrix. This matrix helps BlueRiver make operational control possible. It defines who needs to be competent for which task, what they need to know, what they need to be able to do, how competence will be verified, and what evidence will be retained. It also helps BlueRiver review competence when work changes, when new risks appear, or when performance shows that controls are not working as expected. So, at this point, BlueRiver has defined operational controls and the competence needed to perform them. But even competent people and good controls cannot prevent every problem. So spills can happen, wastewater systems can fail, drains can block, contractors can make mistakes, drought restrictions can create pressure. So the next question is, what if something goes wrong? That takes us naturally to emergency preparedness and response. Okay? So competence is not a certificate. It's not a training attendance sheet. It's not a generic awareness campaign. No. Competence is the ability to perform the EMS at the point of work. So for BlueRiver, that means operators running cleaning in place cycles correctly, maintenance repairing leaks that affect water performance, utilities responding to wastewater alarms, warehouse staff controlling chemical storage, supervisors stopping contractor work when drain protection is missing, procurement translating EMS requirements into supplier and contractor controls. So awareness gives those tasks meaning. And people need to understand why the task matters, what can go wrong, and what the consequences may be. So the practical question is simple. Who must be able to do what, and how do we know they can do it? So when BlueRiver can answer that question, competence and awareness stop being abstract clauses. They become part of how the EMS works every day. Now, let's see. These are the next episodes. So episode 11 will be about emergency preparedness and response. 12 about monitoring, measurement, analysis, and compliance evaluation. And 13, non-conformity correction and corrective action. Okay, so what to do when control is not working. Right. So if your organization needs support with the transition to ISO 14001-2026, or if you are looking to improve your current environmental management system, perhaps I can help. Okay? I also support organizations that are starting from the beginning and want to implement ISO 14001 in a practical, business-oriented way. So you can contact me using the email shown on the screen or send me a direct message on LinkedIn.